Good morning. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing?
Good.
Action was the operative word from last night. That was some drama.
On that note, let's get it. Who says kickers don't matter? Will Lutz made a 58-yard field goal. Time expired, and the Saints beat the Texans 30-28 in a game that had 3 scoring plays in the final minute. Drew Brees bested Deshaun Watson, but Deshaun, very impressive in defeat. Let me ask you this, Max.
Yep.
Do you think Watson will surpass Drew Brees this season?
Yes. I think there's a good chance that happens. If you're asking me what would I bet on, I bet yes. I know what that sounds like. Drew Brees is a future Hall of Famer, one of the best who ever did it. Everyone loves Drew Brees, include me in that group. And he's one of the reasons, Stephen A., that when we talk about the different teams, including Los Angeles, in the NFC, I like the Saints because I do trust Drew Brees in those big moments more than, say, I trust Jared Goff and Wentz, who hasn't been upright in those moments, hasn't been on the field. But I got to say, if you look at Deshaun Watson, I'm not talking about how their teams will fare. The Saints are a better team than the Texans, I believe. But if you just isolate quarterback play and ask, who would you want, do you think, by the end of this season on your team? I believe the answer will be Deshaun Watson. Stephen A., we can't ignore the fact that Drew Brees did not look like a great quarterback late in the NFC Championship game last year. Just didn't. And even in that game, who would you take? Brees or Goff? Brees or you could name a couple other guys late last year that you might say, even though Brees gives me that feeling, in fact, on-field performance, that guy was just as good, that guy was just as good. And then when you get to Watson, it also comes down to, do you believe he has that stuff? I have questions about Jared Goff, right? I don't know. I like the performance in the Super Bowl, he didn't exactly light it up. But Deshaun Watson, I picked Clemson to beat Alabama because he was on the team. And he's shown a lot of that same stuff. I know he didn't have a great game against the Colts last year in their playoff game. But he's shown a lot of that stuff throughout his career, amateur and pro, in college and in the NFL. And then it comes down to last night's performance, all the sacks, all that kind of stuff. Offensive lines take a minute to come together. Deshaun Watson was on the run last year, literally. He was getting slaughtered back there, right? Like, that's just what was happening.
He was sacked 6 times last night.
I understand. That's what I just brought that up. But he wound up with 11 wins. They started doing some things. He wound up with 11 wins. And this is an improved on-paper offensive line. Tunsil is a stud. We know that. He's a baller, Stephen A., but especially with line play. It doesn't come together week 1. I believe by week 5 or 6, this line comes together. I believe Deshaun Watson will lead his team to the playoffs, and I believe once there, he is a quarterback you are going to want on your team. I'm going to say yes to this question.
Well, see, thank God that you finally answered the damn question because you was going all over the place. I was confused about where you were going. You brought up Jared Goff. You brought up another quarterback. You brought up Deshaun Watson's
Why are you worried
years
about what
at
I'm bringing up? Make your argument.
The question was, you zip it. I listened to you. The fact of the matter is, the question was, at the end of this season, will Deshaun Watson eclipse Drew Brees? We didn't ask you about what you want. We asked you about whether or not Deshaun Watson was going to eclipse.
I started my answer with
Drew
yes,
Brees.
and I ended it with yes, and in the middle was the explanation.
I mean, my goodness, you're all over the damn place. I don't understand what you're saying. Here's the deal. Hell no, he ain't going to eclipse Drew Brees, all right? And as far as I'm concerned, last night was evidence of that. You saw Deshaun Watson come back in the fourth quarter. I saw him ball the way that he did. I saw him complete 66% of his passes. I also saw Drew Brees complete 74% of his passes. I saw Drew Brees in the clutch, needing 35 yards to put Lutz in field goal range, get exactly 35 yards on 3 receptions. Just finding a way to deliver the goods even at age 40. We keep talking about Tom Brady and that cliff you swore Tom Brady was on. How that work out for you? But there's another individual that's ignoring that cliff to some degree as well. And his name would happen to be Drew Brees, who's religiously throwing for over 4,800 yards per season, who continues to showcase his greatness on a weekly basis, season after season after season. When I look at Deshaun Watson, I'm looking at a 24-year-old stud who manages to find a way to win games. I have no doubt that the future is incredibly bright for him, and he's something special. But at the end of this season right here, I'm going to be looking at Deshaun Watson above Drew Brees. The only thing I'm going to be looking at is the fact that he doesn't have nearly as much dust on his birth certificate as Drew Brees has. That's about it. Drew Brees is Drew Brees. And last night he showed us why he is that dude, and he continues to be that dude. It's why I got New Orleans coming out of the NFC, not the Dallas Cowboys.
What did Deshaun Watson?
I mean, did you pick New Orleans? Did you pick New Orleans?
I did. Before I think New Orleans is the best team, top to bottom, and part of that is Drew Brees. This is not a knock against Drew Brees. This is a pro-Deshaun Watson argument. That's why I compared him to Jared Goff and some others, because it's not just that Deshaun Watson may put up numbers. He put up over 4,200 yards last year. He marvels at Drew Brees' consistency, right? Every year, 5,000 yards. But at the end of last season, even look at the NFC Championship game, the feeling we all have about Drew Brees was not demonstrated on the field late. And what did many of us say? Stephen, I believe you said this too. Like, Drew Brees did not look good at the end of that game. No one's perfect. It may not be his age, but he looked tired and he looked old at the end. And Deshaun Watson, he has growing pains, of course. Second-year player, went through a stretch in the middle of last year where he looked fatigued and all that stuff. He has that experience now. And he is a guy who you say there's some guys you believe in the clutch, whose teammates look like they want to play for, who have faith in their quarterback and he has faith in them. Deshaun Watson.
And what do they look at Drew Brees as?
Deshaun Watson, I'm not arguing that against Drew Brees. I'm saying Deshaun Watson has that. And even in the face of all the sacks last year early, they wound up winning 11 games. What's the problem? Did they not win 11 games? Did they not win 11 games last year? And did they not improve the offensive line in the offseason? Every time I bring up something about Drew Brees, you're like, I'm not arguing against Drew Brees.
Yeah. But we are. Because the question is, will Deshaun Watson eclipse Drew Brees? That's the question. I'm telling you, the answer is no. And by the way, Deshaun Watson's 24 years of age. Who was the guy being medically treated throughout yesterday's game? Who was that dude?
Who's the dude who got sacked?
I saw Drew Brees looking just fine.
Who's the guy who got sacked 6 times? And the last one was on Tunsil. That is why I'm focusing on offensive line play. They drafted 2 guys. They brought in a stud very recently, a couple weeks ago. Line play takes week after week after week in the regular season. It's not going to hit the ground running week 1. It's not like you just bring in a running back and he can run the ball.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Stop the presses! Stop the! I'm shocked. I can't believe, Max. I apologize, Max. I didn't know that it's important for the offensive line to protect the damn quarterback. I'm sorry, Max. I'm sorry I didn't get that. I thought it's like shadow. It's like shadow quarterback.
Even in being sarcastic,
he just dropped it back to pass with no offensive line in front of him, right? He just dropped it back to pass with no offensive line.
Sarcastic, you are missing the point.
What does that have anything to do with anything?
No, wait.
The bottom line is the Houston Texans. We listen to you. I'll zip it. We listen to you. The fact is,
you are missing the point.
Are a suspect team. Their offensive line has been suspect. We knew that coming into the season. We knew that last year. That's another reason why you would look at them and say, why would I want to take Deshaun Watson? Because he doesn't have the offensive line that the Saints have available for Drew Brees.
Do you think that I am arguing that the offensive line is important? That's my argument? No. Listen carefully. It's the 3rd time I've said it. Instead of rolling your eyes, listen to the points. The offensive line.
To your point. You don't make them. That's the problem.
The offensive line is a part of a football team that frequently, when you bring in new pieces, does not gel right away. It takes time together. So I do not expect this line to be as porous late as it was early, particularly when Deshaun Watson's blindside help is one of the best in the league. They don't know how to play together yet. They will figure that out by the end of the year, giving Watson better protection by then.
All right.
And the 11-win Deshaun Watson from last year will improve this year.
Okay. The Saints get the Rams next week. It'll be a tough test for Drew Brees. That one is in L.A., and Deshaun Watson will get the Jags without Nick Foles. We will leave it there. Let's all be nice to each other. That's our motto for today. Who needs Antonio Brown? The Raiders make a statement on Monday Night Football, but was Oakland that good, or is Denver just that bad? That's coming up next. Stephen A., what else you got for me?
Got a lot more coming up on First Take. Should we be confident the AB drama